25 times your annual spending. That's the entire promise of financial independence. And it rests on one fragile number, 4%. Withdraw 4% a year, adjust it for inflation, and your money is supposed to outlive you. That's the deal the whole FIRE movement signed. But in 2026, Morningstar puts the safe number at 3.9%, while the man who invented the rule now says 4.7. And getting it wrong cuts both ways. Too aggressive, you're broke at 80. Too cautious, you hand years of your life to an office for nothing. So today, we stress test the rule your entire plan rests on, where it came from, where it cracks, and what the honest 2026 answer is. The story starts in 1994 with William Bengen, a financial planner with a computer, a question, and 70 years of market history. He tested every retirement year since 1926, through the Great Depression, wars, the 70s inflation. In the single worst case, 4.15% survived 30 years. In 1998, 3 Trinity University professors reframed it. Not the worst case, but how often each withdrawal rate succeeded across every historical 30-year window. Their headline became legend. 4%, from a 50-50 stock and bond portfolio, survived 95% of historical 30-year retirements. One caveat people skip. Success meant finishing year 30 with at least $1. Dying broke adjacent and dying with millions both counted as wins. Flip 4% upside down and you get the rule you know. Save 25 times your annual spending. Spend $40,000, target $1 million. Simple, memorable, and backed by decades of data. It became the finish line for an entire movement, including this channel's whole premise. But the tidy little rule has 3 cracks in it. And if you plan to retire early, you're standing on all 3. Crack 1. That famous 95% describes the past, not your future. It counts old windows of history. It is not your personal probability. Look at where 4% actually failed. Retirement starting around 1965 and 1966. 2 start years, and they tell you everything about crack 2. Those retirees walked straight into a decade of brutal inflation and flat markets. Right at the start of retirement, exactly when damage hurts most. That's sequence of returns risk. The order your returns arrive in can matter more than what they average. Let's make Alex live it. Meet Alex at the summit. $1 million invested, $40,000 a year in spending. Day 1 of freedom. 4% by the book. His first 3 years bring 3 returns, minus 20%, plus 10, plus 10. Same numbers in both scenarios, only the order will differ. Scenario 1, crash first. Alex withdraws $40,000, then markets drop 20%. 1 year in, his million is down to $768,000. He keeps withdrawing while the market recovers, but he's recovering on a shrunken base. After 3 years, Scenario 1, Alex holds $836,880. Scenario 2, crash last. Identical returns, reversed order, identical withdrawals. After the same 3 years, this Alex holds $862,080. Same market, same spending, different order. The 2 Alexis are $25,200 apart after 3 years, and that gap compounds against him forever. Here's why. Every share sold during a crash is sold cheap, permanently. Withdrawals in the dip are snow carved off the snowball before the hill. Now stretch that to a real crash, 2000 or 2008, landing in year 1, and the order of returns can decide fine versus broke. Crack 3. The studies tested 30-year retirements. Retire at 65, and the math was built for you. Retire at 40, and you need 50 years. Researchers who rerun the numbers over longer horizons find 4%'s success rate slides, dropping below 90% past 40 years for typical mixed portfolios. If Alex retires at 40 with exactly 25 times his spending, he's betting a 50-year future on a 30-year study. That deserves a plan B. More years means more inflation cycles, more crashes, more chances to draw a bad opening hand. Early retirement isn't retirement with extra steps, it's harder math. One honesty check though, failure here is not a cliff. A failing portfolio runs dry slowly over decades, a slide you can watch coming. And no real human follows a plan off a cliff. You'd see the balance sinking in year 12 and adjust. The studies assume you never do. There's also a quiet fourth crack we've met before on this channel. Fees. The classic success rates assumed you paid exactly zero. The updated Trinity numbers, 4% succeeded 96% of the time with no fees, with 1% fees 84, with 2% 65. A 2% fee quietly turns a rule that almost always worked into one that fails roughly a third of the time. Same market, same spending. So the cracks are real, and the obvious fix is withdrawing less. But safety isn't free. Every notch of caution has a price tag, working years. Each rate is a savings target in disguise. 5% means 20 times spending. 4 means 25. 3.5, 28.6. 3, 33.3. For Alex, spending $40,000 a year, those targets are $800,000, $1 million, $1.14 million, and $1.33 million. Give Alex a 50% savings rate. $40,000 invested a year at 5% real returns from zero. Now the price list writes itself. 5% sets him free in 14.2 years. 4%, 16.6. 3.5, 18.2 years. 3%, 20.1 years of work. Read that again. The drop from 4 to 3.5%, half a point of extra safety, costs Alex 1.6 additional years of full-time work. Going all the way to 3% costs 3.5 extra years. In this scenario, every half point of safety adds roughly 10% more working time. Those aren't abstract years. They're alarm clocks, commutes, and Monday meetings. Thousands of hours traded for insurance against a risk that may never arrive. The other direction tempts too. 5% frees Alex 2.4 years sooner, but historically survived only about 2/3 of 30-year periods, 41 of 60. So 5% is a gamble, and 3% is expensive. The real decision lives in the half points between, and behavior decides that, not spreadsheets. A 1 in 3 chance of running out of money isn't a retirement plan. It's a coin flip with your 70s on the table. But be honest about the opposite failure too. The one from our Die with Zero episode. Chasing 3% to be safe is often fear, not math. Fear always wants one more year. It shows up wearing a spreadsheet, pointing at the one scenario out of 100 that goes wrong. So keep the price list taped to the wall. Each extra half point of safe costs 1.5 to 2 more years of his one life. Which brings us to the 2026 verdict, and what the people who study this hardest actually concluded this year. Morningstar's new baseline, 3.9% for rigid, inflation-adjusted spending over 30 years, up from 3.7% last year on improved return forecasts. But the very same report says flexible spenders, people willing to trim after bad years, can responsibly start near 5.7%. Flexible means rules, not vibes. Guardrail strategies pre-agree the moves. Spending rises after strong years and tightens after weak ones, inside set bands. Meanwhile, Bengen himself, using more asset classes and longer data, now puts the worst-case safe maximum at 4.7%. Notice the experts don't agree on the number, because the number was never really the point. The spread between 3.9 and 5.7 is behavior. A plan that can bend is worth more than an extra half point of buffer, because the buffer costs years, and the bending costs a restaurant budget. So the honest verdict, as a law of nature, the 4% rule was always dead. As a planning compass, it's alive and well. In practice, 3 moves. Move 1. Keep 25 times spending as your target. Every serious 2026 estimate still lands within shouting distance of it. Move 2. Write your flexibility plan now. Decide today which expenses you'd cut after a bad market year. That list is your real safety margin. Move 3. Keep fees near zero. 2% in fees did more damage to the rule than any withdrawal rate decision you'll ever make. Do those 3, and the gap between 3.9 and 4.7 stops being scary. It becomes a dial, one that you control. The 4% rule isn't dead. It grew up from a magic number into a starting point for people who actually do the math. That's the stress test. The rule survived, with caveats you now know by name. Keep doing the math, and I'll see you in the next one.